Hi my fellow potters, Marie here from Pottery Crafters. In this video I tested out 2 Speedball glazes. I was given these glazes at the Speedball booth when I went to ClayCon West in St. George, Utah. Speedball Hematite glaze and Speedball Lavender Mist. I tested them out in several different ways, brushing and pouring. I did 3 coats, 2 coats, and then poured it. I'll show you how I applied them and the results. Then you can see which glaze or glazes you'd like to try and how you'd like to glaze them. All the supplies used for this video are listed for you below in the show notes. Let's start glazing. I'm starting with the Speedball Hematite glaze. Of course, before I glaze, I always wipe the bisqueware with the clean damp sponge in case any ceramic dust has accumulated during the bisque firing. And make sure my hands are clean and dry. Or wear gloves. Apply wax resist to the bottom of the pottery. These CM disposable foam brushes work really well. And mix the glaze well. I really like this Hamilton Beach blender. It mixes the glazes well and underglazes. Now it's time to glaze. The first coat I'll brush on the vase horizontally. I was recommended to brush on 3 coats of glaze. This glaze does brush onto the bisqueware nice and smooth. I won't be applying any hematite to the inside of this vase because I already applied toasted sage to the inside. It is the go-to for the inside of my pottery when I can. I made this vase with Laguna Saldate 60, which does contain grog. It's a versatile clay that I usually use for hand building and raku. I will use it occasionally when wheel throwing. It's not that hard on my hands. Let it dry. The second coat I'll apply vertically. I'm using my AMAGIC Fan Brush. I found the fan brushes work better for me than the hack brushes. Or is it hacky brush? Some potters will say hacky brush and some will say hack brush. Let this dry. Apply a 3rd coat of hematite, this time horizontally. The vendor at the Speedball booth had informed me that the picture does not match the fired glaze. Let's see if she's right. Let this dry. Make sure there's no glaze on the bottom of the vase and fire to cone 5 with a 20-minute hold. Let's see how it turned out. Well, this is nice. I like the color. It has a nice smooth gray-black look to it, almost like a gunmetal color. But it is a nice, beautiful color. Let's see how the glaze turns out when I only apply 2 coats of hematite. Brush the first coat on the candle holder horizontally. I'm not going to apply another coat on the inside of the candle holder, just to see how the glaze turns out. I made the candle holder with number 11 AMAGIC stoneware white clay. The glaze is labeled as dinnerware safe and lead-free. Careful not to have the glaze build up in the slits that I carved out. Let this dry. For the next coat I'll be glazing horizontally again because of the slits in the candle holder. Let it dry, make sure there's no glaze on the bottom, and fire it in the kiln to cone 5 with a 20-minute hold. Let's see how it turned out. Now this is interesting. There's a big difference in the color and finish. Beautiful, almost black. And I see a touch of brown in it. And more of a shiny finish, which I'm surprised at. I did think there would be more gray in the finish. And the 1 coat on the inside does have a nice smooth black finish. I also brushed a coat of hematite on this test tile. just in case I couldn't see inside the candle holder that well. Even with just one coat, there are no brush marks. The glaze was not thick either. It does note that the results may vary depending on individual application amounts and the method that you've glazed it and the firing techniques. I really like it. Let's see how the glaze turns out when I pour the hematite on the pottery. Using my dipping tongs, I'll pour the hematite on this jewelry dish. The jewelry dish was made with Laguna Soldate 60 clay. The glaze does have a nice consistency to it, like heavy cream. Not too thin and not too thick. I have a video on these jewelry dishes. I tested 10 different methods to determine which method helps stop the clay from sticking to the glass surfaces. I left the link for you below in the show notes. Brush the extra glaze off the bottom. Place it on a plastic lid to allow the rest of the glaze to drip off. Let it dry. Wipe the glaze off the bottom with a sponge. And fire to cone 5 with a 20-minute hold. Let's see how it turned out. I'm really happy with the pour. A nice smooth finish, just like the vase. More semi-metallic. It does remind me of the gunmetal color. And I do see the gray in here more than with the 2 coats. You can hit the like button anytime during this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. And hit the bell icon to get notified whenever a new video comes out. This is a nice glaze. Let's take a look at the Speedball Lavender Mist now. I'll start by brushing a coat on the inside of this bowl horizontally. This bowl was made with Amico No. 11 AMAGIC stoneware white clay. Then on the outside horizontally. I was recommended to apply 3 coats of this glaze also. Let it dry. Apply a second coat horizontally again. I do switch off horizontally and vertically when I can, or when I remember. For this bowl, I don't want the glaze to pool into the grooves, so I'll apply it horizontally. Let it dry. The third coat I'll brush on horizontally again. I'm curious to see how the glaze turns out and how close it is to the picture on the jar. This glaze dries really fast. It's not like the hematite glaze. And I'm noticing that it's clumping up a bit. Let it dry, make sure there's no glaze on the bottom of the bowl, and fire in the kiln to cone 5 with a 20-minute hold. Let's see how it turned out. It has a nice soft, gentle mist pattern to it. Hence the name Lavender Mist. The picture on the jar is darker than on my bowl. But as they stated on their website, results may vary depending on the coverage and the firing temperature. When firing my glazes, I always put a 10-minute hold on at the end of the firing to even out the temperature and help cure the glaze. Since a Scud technician suggested I try a 20-minute hold, I was very happy with the results. I now put a 20-minute hold on after the firing. I like the light blue hues in the lavender glaze. And it did flow down a little bit by the carved areas. I think it's a lovely color. Let's see how the glaze turns out when I apply only 2 coats. I'm applying the first coat to this cup horizontally, on the outside only, because I poured Amico toasted sage on the inside. I made this cup with Amico No. 11 AMAGIC stoneware white clay. Let it dry. Brush on a second coat, this time vertically. Because the carving on the top is not too deep, I'll see how it turns out. Let it dry. Make sure the bottom has no glaze on it, and fire it in the kiln to cone 5 with a 20-minute hold. Let's see how it turned out. This is interesting. The Lavender Mist still retains this beautiful blue color, and white spots this time. Just a subtle touch of the lavender color. Looks more blue and white to me. The glaze appears to have a cloud-like effect to it. The color does have more white in it the thinner the glaze is. So if you like this effect, 2 coats would be perfect. Let's see how the glaze turns out when I pour it. I'm going to use a jewelry dish to pour the Lavender Mist on. Grab the dish with the dipping tongs like I did with the hematite glaze. Pour the glaze on the inside and outside of the dish. These tongs come in handy when I'm pouring and have nothing to grab onto. The jewelry dish was made with Laguna Soldate 60 clay. Let the extra glaze drip off and brush the glaze off the bottom of the dish. The extra glaze brushed off nicely because of the wax resist. Place it on a plastic lid to allow the rest of the glaze to drip off. Let it dry and remove any remaining glaze from the bottom of the jewelry dish. Fire in the kiln to cone 5 with a 20-minute hold. Let's see how it turned out. This turned out really nice. I can see the lavender and the blue. It gives it that misty look and no white. It looks like the glaze is equal to 4 coats of brushing. I can see the thicker it is, the more lavender color comes out. You can see a distinct difference in colors with the thinner coverage and the thicker coverage. It is a beautiful soft blue and lavender color. The glaze didn't run off the dish at all and stopped at the glaze line. That's always good to know when glazing. You want to know which glazes run more than others. So it looks like the more coats you put on, the more lavender. The less coats you put on, the more white shows up and blue. But the blue is prevalent throughout all of the pieces that I've tested. This does give you a good idea of the results depending on how much glaze you use and what technique you decide to use. I used 2 different clay bodies on the hematite glaze, and I noticed that it didn't craze at all, which is a good thing. I also used 2 different bodies of clay on this glaze, and this glaze didn't craze either. If you'd like more information on crazing and how to prevent it, I have a post on my Pottery Crafters website. I left the link for you below in the show notes. I like the Speedball Hematite glaze with just 2 coats on it. It also turned out really well with 1 coat, which I was surprised by. This is the picture from the Blick Arts website that's showing 1, 2, and 3 coats of the hematite. The glaze is darker when applied thinner and grayer when applied thicker. Mine didn't turn out that gray. I also like the effect that the glaze had when I poured it on. Nice and smooth. And this is a rough clay. I like the shiny color that this glaze produced. I'll definitely be using this hematite glaze again. Now, I found the Lavender Mist to be very beautiful. I love the colors that it created, and it does have a misty pattern. Now, I do see the lavender in this glaze, but it also has a lot of blue in it, which is beautiful. It's just a stunning glaze. I'll definitely keep this in my glaze collection. Now, when I glazed just 2 coats, I found it to be nice also. And if you want the white to come out, I think the 2 coats would be great. This is the picture from the Blick Arts website showing 1, 2, and 3 coats, and almost white with 1 coat, and all blue and lavender when applied thicker. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. and hit the bell icon to get notified whenever a new video comes out. I must say, this is my favorite. Now, which technique do you like, and which glaze is your favorite? I hope I've helped you in choosing a new glaze. You watching helps me make more videos, like this one. Now head on over to my 5 cool ways to glaze wavy bowls, and my 7 glaze combinations to try. If you do, I get to play with more clay. Let's stay dirty